I am joined here today by Sumedh Thakar, President and CEO of Qualys, recovering engineer, product leader, and provocateur of all things cybersecurity risk management. Sumedh, thanks.
Thank you, Rich. I think recovering engineer, that is the prognosis is never going to happen where I fully recover from being an engineer. But thank you for having me today.
Well, my pleasure. So I have a question for you. I've been listening to you. Of course, I work with you. I've known you for 20 years. You've been, I think, I don't know if I can say dissing, but making some provocative comments about attack surface management. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Let's just say I'm a little bit less excited about, where the industry talks a lot about attack surface management. I think it's an important way to look at sort of, what are the possible entry points into what is something that you care about. But I really feel like today our focus needs to be on risk surface management. Okay, so bear with me here. I'm going to give an example. Look, if you have a nice big house and you have like plenty of doors and windows, and your attack surface is anybody could come through the door or a window, and so you're going to put a lot of effort, maybe spend $500,000 on making sure you have the latest and greatest security system, sensors, motion sensors, infrared cameras, Wi-Fi, everything. So you have secured your attack surface. However, you realize that the only thing of value in that house is $50,000 cash in your drawer. So you just spend $500,000 in securing something where the risk of loss was only $50,000. So now you see what I mean, is your risk surface was only $50,000 and you spent a non-justifiable amount of effort fixing your attack surface. And so the question is, attack surface is important, that's your entry points, and then you have your risk surface. So how do you marry those together? I think that's the issue today with, we have plenty of risk management or rather risk visibility tools, right. But what is our risk surface as it ties to, risk is important.
Right. So in your case, the example would be the cure was way worse than the disease. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you just basically ended up spending way too much on versus what your loss was, right?
So very treasure-oriented. So that leads me to...
It is treasure, right? That's why we call in cybersecurity, we call them as your crown jewels. Yeah. It's because that's treasure.
All right, this leads into this. You also, I'm going to try to quote you here. I should look at my notes as well. Money is the new language of risk. Is that what you say?
I don't say new, but if you ask me what is risk, I'm just going to say risk is about money. Okay. And I think it's not new from how it should be. It's because cybersecurity is a risk management exercise, period. Every company invests in cybersecurity to reduce the risk of a potential loss.
Right.
So it has always been about the money. It is just that it's a maturity journey for cybersecurity over the years. And so we have focused on best practices initially and making sure we have the right controls in place. But at the end of the day, everything we do is about how much do we spend in reducing how much potential loss that you can have. And that is what cybersecurity is about. And so it's not that the language is new, but today we are getting to the point where people are getting asked about the ROI in cybersecurity. Why should we invest more in cybersecurity outside of what we've already been investing millions of dollars? And how does it relate to the business? And so when you take a step back, yes, cybersecurity is a risk management exercise, and risk management is about money. Is how much money does the company stand to lose if you have a breach, and then how much should you spend? And risk management essentially has sort of three components in my mind. One is proactive risk mitigation with your tools, which is again how much money you spend to reduce the risk. Second is which is sort of the default, which is your risk acceptance. You should never look at zero risk. So how much risk are you willing to accept? And then the rest that you cannot mitigate, you cannot accept, is risk transfer. And risk transfer, your cyber insurance, which again is money. Right. And so no matter how you look at it, we all have to think about, at the end of the day, cybersecurity is about risk management, and risk management is about business loss.
It sounds like an epiphany of the obvious, or you say, motherhood and apple pie. To
yes.
Think about this. And so I'm trying to figure out why in security is this obvious thing missed so often, and this goes to another thing you perhaps critique, and this is, I'm quoting you again, is we need less dashboard tourism. Like, is it something about the way we present data or think about it that's prevented us from noting that we're supposed to protect traffic?
Yeah, you have a lot of quotes. I need to stop saying too many things, but I mean, it's true, right? I think cybersecurity has been evolving and the threats have been growing, but not necessarily the budget required to mitigate those threats. And so we're kind of getting at the point where it's like, well, we can't spend all of our money that we have for the business to fixing everything in cyber. And so how do we focus on moving from just a best practices based approach, like, yes, I should have vulnerability management, yes, I should have configuration management, yes, I should have MFA, I should have ZTNA, all of that, into going beyond just siloed visibility into multiple tools, right? Like, there is a tool for everything. There is a dashboard for everything. Your code scanning has a dashboard. Your application security has a dashboard. Your misconfiguration has a dashboard. Cloud has a dashboard. And all these dashboards today, security teams put together and they show you, 10 different dashboards. And so it's like your posture management is a bunch of top 10 dashboards.
Right.
But well, what does that mean to the potential of a loss I could have for my, let's say, wealth banking business unit? Well, you cannot say that because all of the data is in these different dashboards, right? And so people focus a lot on building the visibility and the dashboards, but ultimately the only value of the cyber spend comes when you mitigate and fix the issue. Right. Before the attacker gets there. And so that's why I say that too many times security teams are just focusing on these multiple dashboards, and that's why I call it dashboard tourism, because we're like, look at these beautiful dashboards we have built, but what does that mean to the business and what should we fix? So that stuff is not always is coming out, and that's why I talk about dashboard tourism and why we need to go beyond just looking at visibility and looking at these things.
So this leads to another question. So security has been about observation, but obviously we need to start leaning into action. You mentioned remediation. People think of patching, but it's a bigger topic than just that.
Yeah, and justifiably so, because every time you want to change something on a system, there is a potential of an operational issue. An operational issue can cause an outage, which causes loss to the business. And so there is this never-ending balance between loss of business from security-related issue versus a loss of business from an operational issue caused by trying to fix a security-related issue, right? And so a big part of that comes from today we have way too many findings across the board, millions and millions of findings. I think the number of CVEs detected just in 2024 jumped by 40% from the year before. The speed at which exploit is happening has gone down significantly. And so if you try to get your IT team, and that's the other issue, right? You kind of have these silos between, well, that's the IT team's job, that's the security team's job. And I think people are coming to the realization that, no, it's all of our job as a company to make sure things are mitigated. We get no prizes for having built a dashboard for that when you didn't fix it. So that's kind of where I see that the focus towards remediation has to be there. Now, of course, if you try to do it without prioritization, you're going to have issues. Right. And as an example, if you try to fix 10,000 CVEs, 10,000 CVEs could be 1,000 patches. 1,000 patches means 1,000 opportunities for things to go wrong operationally on a system. Right. But if you leverage the prioritization and the things that we're doing from they're taking that risk and operationalizing it, then you can actually bring that number down to, say, 1,000 vulnerabilities that actually cause risk. Right. Now, fixing 1,000 vulnerabilities could be 15 patches. Okay, so that's a much better operational trade-off. Right. To say I can fix 15 patches and take that risk versus trying to put 1,000 patches, right? And so that's where risk management is not just about, okay, can I show the dashboard, but how do we get to that right point of what should we really fix so that we have the right balance between operational and security issues.
I hear two things here. I hear about buying down the right risk in terms of elimination, but there's some cost savings involved too for the people who are operating the stuff. Instead of having hundreds of people running around, And that leads me to, how do you orchestrate all this? And I can't help but think about AI. when you think
Yeah.
about this. So maybe, I'm sure there's an AI story.
Yeah,
somewhere.
I think before even we get there, right, I think there is a need in you use the word, how do you operationalize this, right? I think there is a key need here in the industry today is that how do you operationalize this entire risk management exercise, right? The job is not done till you fix the right things.
Right.
That's risk management, right? And to be able to do, and we talked about prioritization is important, remediating is important. So that's where we introduced the concept of a risk operations center, right? We have all used SOC, but SOC is after a breach has happened.
Right.
What about proactive risk management? How do we move away from dashboard tourism of too many dashboards into something that's coherent, that is normalized across many different areas of cyber? Because a CVE that is detected by a code scanning tool does not have the same risk as what is detected in a production environment, because that's a theoretical potential, and here's actually something that is there. So the idea of a risk operations center, which I believe we're going to talk today a little bit later, is about how do we take all your assets, which by the way, nobody has a good idea. Everybody fails in that first step. How do you bring all your assets together, all the findings from multiple tools, apply threat intelligence, apply business context, and operationalize that business context so that you can narrow down the prioritization and then actually get it fixed, and then report on it, right, to the board. Because without that, you're not getting the value of what you're trying to do, because that fixing part is super important, and you have to operationalize the entire end-to-end. And I cannot stress enough how important the conversation of risk surface management is in this case, because I can give an example. Let's say you have two business units. One of those business units has a risk score of 900 on 1,000, and another one has a risk of 750 on 1,000. Which one would you fix first? Most people will say, well, the 900 on 1,000. That makes sense because that's higher risk score. However, if I tell you that the 900 is on a business unit that makes $2 million a year versus the 750 is on something that makes $500 million a year, your entire prioritization just flipped on its head. Now you're going to say, no, wait, I'm going to fix the 750 first. So when you operationalize your risk management, making sure that you're bringing the business aspect is very important, because adding the business aspect can totally flip your prioritization equation, right? And so I think that's where the risk operations center implementation is super important. But then to build out a risk operations center, there are multiple tasks that need to happen: collecting assets, deduplicating assets, getting findings, deduplicating the findings, applying threat intelligence, looking at already what is mitigated, figuring out what can be patched versus what can be mitigated versus what can be a call to a ZTNA solution to block something. So along this way, to implement a risk operations center, there are many opportunities or many tasks that are very manual today, and our team spends a lot of time. And I think that's where I'm super excited about the use of agentic AI.
Right.
Because I think that's exactly what agentic AI has been developed for, is, with the MCP protocol, the ability to pull together multiple different things and applying the AI intelligence, artificial intelligence, to say, I want to achieve this goal like a Patch Tuesday. I want to triage all my Patch Tuesday findings. I don't want any ransomware related findings in this business unit. All of those can be fully automated with the use of agents. And so that's where we came up with this idea where people think in terms of my team. They think in terms of my team member. They think in terms of, I'm going to assign you a task, and then you're going to finish the task and come back and ask for a raise. I think if you expand that out, and what we did with the Risk Operations Center is we added the ability to have a marketplace of cyber risk agents.
Right.
And by giving them a persona, a personality, a name, it's very interesting, because now you think of like, oh, Agent Sarah is an expert in Patch Tuesday triage.
Right.
And Agent Nova is an external attack surface expert. And they are constantly going and looking at where you are and making autonomous decisions on what needs to be prioritized. And they could highlight it for you. They could pop it up in Slack for you. They could they could actually remediate it for you. But by doing that, you kind of allows you to think in terms of my team. And now my team is, 17 team members that are in the office and 3 digital team members expert in cybersecurity that know how to get things done. So by implementing a risk operations center, the agentic AI workflows, actually agentic AI becomes very important and very easy and very productive to put all of that in place. And so that's why it's super exciting today to think of how agentic AI can truly help us triage the mountains and mountains of findings down into the 5 or 10 things that we really should fix because they're not mitigated by anything else.
Again, I'll go back to motherhood and apple pie. As I hear this, it seems like, okay, that makes absolute sense.
Yeah.
But I do have a lot of questions, and I'm sure the audience does as well. They're going to want to learn more.
Yes.
What's their best opportunity coming up to do just that?
Well, first is don't leave till this entire session is done. Make sure you listen to every member who's presenting here, especially all the way to Mayuresh, who's gonna showcase how this Risk Operations Center concept can actually be implemented from a people, process, and tool perspective. And then second is connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will have a chat with you on what you can do for a Risk Operations Center moving forward.
Well, there was another softball, and we have a conference.
Oh, yes.
We have a new conference.
We have a rock on. We're
Yes.
gonna rock, and
Rock
so I think great point there. We've done QSC for the last many years, and the Qualys Security Conference has been a place where so many of our customers have come and really advanced their knowledge and gave us feedback. I think now is the year, given the feedback that we have had from so many of our customers and their focus on risk management. And by the way, risk conversation is not just a security and IT team conversation. It includes the CFO, it includes the board members, it includes cyber insurance. Yeah. And so with this, we sort of elevated our QSC conference into a risk operations conference, and that's why the very smart name of Rock On. And we will have rock stars there, risk rock stars. Okay, yeah. So that conference is going to be very exciting. It's in Houston, and it's October 13th to 16th, I believe. And this conference is going to give the ability for everybody to come together and have broader conversations around risk surface management, board reporting, as well as things like cyber insurance. There's going to be panels around that. And so, kind of take the conversation beyond vulnerability management out to that. So that's, don't leave today. Connect with me on LinkedIn, and then make sure you come to Houston and watch our conference and participate, in fact, in there and meet other like-minded people. Again, like I said, if cybersecurity is about risk management, and unfortunately, 90% of people working in cybersecurity do not even have the word risk in their title. And we need to change that. And I think this conference is going to be the place where we come and really say we need to refocus our efforts on risk management and risk reduction rather than just fixing things because they have been assigned to us.
No more dashboard tourism. Come to Houston and eat some mean barbecue and learn more about cybersecurity risk management and the Rock.
Yes.
Thank you, Sumedh.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a pleasure.
All right.